above all.
Back here on AB Conversation.
Sorry for that, Mr. Sinatra. You know, one of the legends in this music industry. But AB Conversation is back. Anthony Carlo, Benzino, the hero. And we'll not tip off. We already led off with baseball. So our next topic in the show is the NBA. Now, with me being a Knicks fan, they keep losing. Why? Well, I don't know. It's about 8 now.
That's a loaded question.
7. No, 7 or 8 in a row now. So am I scared? Am I happy? I'm not happy because I want to see my team win. Right. But am I seeing the effort to win these games? And no, I'm not seeing the effort from this team. Even though guys like Lewis and Munson, they bring energy, but even that wears off when the season you're having is a bust. I don't like to see that.
No, I listen. I completely agree with you. That one thing you don't want to see if your team has mailed in the season for contending at least for a playoff spot or anything is the players getting the chance to shine and prove themselves so they can hang around for next year, showing fans that there's not enough energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing. If I'm a player and all the starters, the blueprint for winning a championship for the New York Knicks, that has been scratched. And I'm a player that was not a part of that blueprint. I was not Amari Stoudemire. I was not Iman Shumpert.
You're Anthony Carlo.
No, I was not Carmelo Anthony. I was not, Jose Calderon. If I'm not any of those players, and I'm a, let's say Cole Aldrich,
okay,
or a Langston Galloway,
LG
from the D League, or
Quincy Acey.
Yeah, Quincy Acey, or even past that, like some of the players that have been sort of been getting more playing time since the Knicks tanked.
Oh, so Shane Larkin, Clee,
Anthony Early,
free my guy Clee,
guys like that. You want to see from them their ability to want to be on this team for next year and be a part of that team that hopefully will win the championship or go to the playoffs or whatever it may be. And right now it's like an evaluation period.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one large tryout, and one guy that we've known for now weeks who's proven himself the most, I think, has been our man, Langston Galloway.
LG, life's good with Langston. LG. And players like Clee Anthony, even though he's coming off injury, he's either with the Westchester Knicks or with the big team New York Knicks. I want to see this player do good. This player has potential. We talked about what potential means, Anthony. You know what it means. You explained it. So with a player like Clee Anthony, he can emerge as a nice player in his NBA career. So even though it's his rookie year, you got to see what he's doing on defense, get his fundamentals right. And even if you can spot him, you get him ready for next year.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And Phil Jackson tweeted out after the Knicks lost to the Cavs, today's game versus the Cavs gave BB gods, basketball gods, heartburn. And those who know what it, in quotations, takes, means on SMH. Shake my head. Let me make that a little more clear. I think what Phil is trying to say is today's game, the loss against the Cavs, basically he's calling out the players, as you are, Ben, to saying, do they know exactly what it takes and means to be a New York Knick?
Now with this tweet that Phil Jackson sent, why... You're the president of basketball operations, and you're doing this on a public forum via Twitter. You can go downstairs into the locker room and say that to their faces. With a player, not even a player, the dude's probably 67. I don't know his age. He's old.
He's about that, yeah.
He's old. So last time they won the chip was like 69 with him on the roster. So he's old. And you shouldn't be on Twitter. This for the young man. This for me. This for you. At Benzino _ the hero. At ACarl1. These are for the young guys. You're Phil Jackson. Even though...
Are you ageist, Ben? Is that what you're saying?
What happened?
Are you ageist? Are you against old people?
No. The way you're the Zen master. You think the Zen master would? I wouldn't expect the Zen master to go on Twitter and call his player out. Maybe because these young guys are on Twitter. Let me show them what's up. But he shouldn't be doing this. I know Phil Jackson. His first tweet, if you look at it, it's a big typo. Why? Because he was typing with all his rings on it. I hope he was doing one from 69 because the Knicks have more than one since 71 though. But
Well, you know what? I think that Phil is confused right now, believe it or not. I don't think he knows where to let out his comments. I think that, you have to feel bad, first of all, for Derek Fisher. I mean, he comes into this whole thing, and I don't know necessarily if you have to feel bad because the organizational support he's getting still is there.
Yes.
And that's important that nobody is... I don't recall any part of the season. There might have been one split second where they questioned Fisher. I believe it was a newspaper. I believe it was the Post or the Daily News.
you're supposed to do that.
It was a New York newspaper that said, "Is it Fisher's fault?" You know what? Other than that, he hasn't really gotten any backlash about this because for a large portion of this team's failure, it's been basically not in his hands.
Yeah.
It's been because he's been given players to go out there and win that just aren't going to do that.
They're not of the Phil Jackson caliber since Derek Fisher is the puppet of Phil.
Yeah, they're not ready. If I can understand, first of all, I think Derek Fisher would be gone right now if the Knicks started out with their five, their starters, Melo, Calderon, Stat. I believe Dallin Barrow was considered a starter at that point. Guys like that. And then at this point, they were tanking with those same guys.
Mm-hmm.
Fish would be fired a long time ago.
Yeah.
But the fact that they tanked with those guys and then turned it over to the younger guys to prove themselves and sort of evaluate talent, but it's not his fault. But what it does do is I think it takes a large mental toll on Fish to go day in, day out and lose.
And Derek Fisher is not considered a loser. He was on winning championships teams, always in the playoffs, so it might be difficult. He hasn't seen a losing team since, the 06 Lakers with Smush Parker? He hasn't seen losing. This guy does not see L's. He sees W's.
It makes it even tougher.
Mm-hmm.
One guy who hasn't seen much losing this year, James Harden.
James Harden.
Especially with his abilities. I mean, forget about even the Rockets. Let's talk about him. MVP chants getting louder with his triple-double in this last game, and the guy is just lethal. When you watch him on the court, the moves he puts on players, the dribbling, the footwork, I mean, he can break your ankles in a second.
And he did. He bopped Ricky Rubio, had him on skates. And the fact that Rubio got back up and was in James Harden's beard and he made a three, this man is lethal.
That's another thing he could do. He could make a three if you're on him with you. He could be 10 feet beyond the arc with somebody right in his face. He'll still make the three.
Water.
31 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists, and that's special. That the fact that he can rebound, he can dish the ball, and he is not. First of all, he is not primarily supposed to be passing the ball.
I mean, he has been. That's what the key thing about James Harden. Even you can go back with the Thunder. When he was in the game, he was the primary ball handler, so he had control of running the offense.
Right.
Even with Team USA, you can see him as the primary ball handler and dishing it out. So is it surprising? James Harden as a scorer, but very low-key, he is a passer.
Right. But would you say now his sort of like his overall status as an NBA player has sort of changed because he's become such a good scorer? Like when you think of James Harden, right? And you think of his earlier years, would you consider him, you say, oh, James will set the table. But now, at least for me, when I think of James Harden, I think of putting up 25 points.
You think cold-blooded comes after that name, James Harden?
Yeah, I think about somebody who has translated his passing ability into also being a lethal scorer.
Mm-hmm.
And now the flair is there, the glitz and glam that he has the ability to put up those numbers, sort of masks everything else.
And he's doing this without Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard's been sidelined for about 3 weeks now. So he's doing 10 rebounds without Dwight Howard. And shout out to the Rockets organization because they did pick up Corey Brewer earlier in the season. Not talked about pickup, but Corey Brewer is a difference maker on that bench. Josh Smith, the headache of, he shoots the ball a lot, but so far he's been doing good. Not even so far. He's gotten to his role, so he's comfort. And they added Pablo Prigioni, former New York Knick. That's a veteran point guard on a playoff team. So I'm happy for Prigioni. I'm sad to see him go. but I appreciate what he did for the Knicks, and I'm happy to see him in the Houston Rocket uniform.
Yeah, Pablo was always a good player, but you're right that he's been Harden has been maybe excelling so much at rebounding because Dwight's not there.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody's got to get the boards. Moving off that, the Pelicans had a big win
Pellies.
without Ant Davis.
Yeah, Ant Davis out with his shoulder injury once again. He injured it before the All-Star break, trying to come off an alley-oop and try to yam it on somebody. And he also aggravated that injury in a previous game. So hopefully for this Pelican team, he can come back, because this is
Crunch time.
It's crunch time because OKC's. Oh, we can talk about OKC, but injuries. Kevin Durant's out for another week with his foot. Now this is bigger for OKC not having KD than the Pelicans, because KD is your player. But even though they have a player like Russell on the Pelicans, Tyreek Evans, you can't get numbers with Tyreek Evans like Russell Westbrook gets without him, and for Eric Gordon. Just on the basketball note, he should have had a better career. I hope he turns it around, because he hasn't been the player I thought he was gonna be coming out of Indiana. That's just my thing. But yeah, and also another injury, Anthony. We have to talk about this Chris Bosh injury. This is a devastating injury. The man is out for the season due to blood clots in his lungs.
Yeah, that he's been their guy this year.
Even though I've had said 2.5, this guy, when he's dolo by himself, he scores the ball. This man has, even when LeBron was there, he extended out to that three-point shot as a lethal weapon of his now. And with they got Goran Dragic as well, they're going to say Dragic, a healthy Wade, Hassan Whiteside, Luol Deng, and Chris Bosh. And Chris Bosh was going to be that main scorer. Now for the team, because they got Dragic at the trade deadline.
Yes.
And the news of Bosh came the day after. That's a major letdown.
It's a big blow. The one good thing is the fact that they had mapped out a possible plan for making the playoffs, and the plan was bring in Goran Dragic, add him to the mix with Chris Bosh, and watch everything fly. And Dragic stepped right into the position. I believe he dropped 23 points or something his first night, and also picked up a double-double in the making. And then they go and lose Chris Bosh. And this is the guy who has carried the team up until this point to even have a shot at making the playoffs. And when they bring Goran over, they figure, okay, now we got the little extra oomph that we need, and then Chris Bosh goes down. So the hope now, Ben, is the fact that the season is not over for one fact, and that's the fact that Goran Dragic came over. Now, if Goran Dragic, they didn't go out and get him, and Chris goes down, you can forget about it. Now they have a mere hope that Goran can basically lead this team to that last playoff spot in the East, but it's definitely going to be 100 times harder than it would have been if Bosh was still in the mix.
Yeah, because Miami's currently at 24-31, under 500 record, at the 7th seed, and Brooklyn's with 23-31 at the 8th. Detroit 22-33, Indiana 23-33, Charlotte at 22-32. So these teams could come up on them and surpass them for a playoff spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And now they're more vulnerable, obviously, without Chris.
Yeah, because they're the main scorer at like 24.
And really, he stepped into the role without, he saw that Dwayne, obviously, you can't count on him with his knees.
Dwayne played 1/3 of his season.
Yeah. LeBron was gone, so who was it going to be? It could have easily became, Chris Bosh having an okay season, doing what he usually does, but he embraced the moment. And he, as you said, his scoring especially, because he could have been a rebounder, did everything else, but really didn't, lead with scoring, but he did it all.
Yeah, even though this is not Chris Bosh's first go-around with him being the main guy on the team. Before he came to Miami Heat, some people really think he's a Miami Heat his whole career. It's great. Yeah, this dude put up numbers in Toronto, even though they're in Canada. Yeah. The reason he was on the Heat, the reason Dwayne Wade recruited him, because this guy gets buckets. Yeah. This guy knows how to score. He knows how to play the basketball. So I hope Bosh comes back with stronger vengeance when he comes back, because recently a Portland Trailblazer passed away. I forgot his name. But sorry, but he also had a blood clot in his lung.
That's a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
So let's
Dempsey. I know that Steve Blake. He is a Portland Trailblazer. He's currently on the roster. The guy that passed away wore number 25, and this is Blake's third time around with the Blazers. So
Right.
he dropped the 25 and just kept the 5 in honor of the man that passed away, the longtime Portland Trailblazer.
Well, hopefully Chris Bosh can take care of that problem because we don't want anything
Yeah.
terrible like that to happen. But other than that, the Heat did take care of Philadelphia. Not too big of a story because it's Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And Luol Deng dropped 29 in the win. If he can do that, and Luol assumes the role that Chris was playing, and they have sort of a second Chris Bosh to go along with Goran. But I think Luol Deng. I mean, look, I don't think he has that potential to do that.
Not anymore. He's past his prime.
So, moving on, we'll move on to our final segment here. Anything else to say on the NBA?
New York Knicks basketball, keep us moving.
New York Knicks basketball. So we will move on. We'll take another quick commercial break. We'll be right back as we'll toss it up. We'll leave the viewers with a little wondering. What are we going to talk about?
Cliffhanger.
We'll give you a hint. It has to do with the words Mayweather.
Okay. All right, so April showers, spring brings May flowers. So I hope we're talking about tulips, daffodils, roses, not hydrangeas, just different flowers. Hopefully, so stay tuned to AB Conversation, the garden show.